Oh, sorry. Hello all and welcome to our webinar on academic tracking for post holders. Our guest of honor today is Alan Lawlor. Alan, if you want to throw on your video whenever you're ready.
Yep,
So
right.
Alan's from Blackwater Community School. He holds an AP2 post, which includes academic tracking. And as I understand, Alan, it is a growing school. You have about 1,000 students.
Yeah, we're close to 1,000 at this point in time, and I think over the next year or so we should break past that number. Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
So
very
we're
good.
growing all the time.
So yes, you have had the Athena Tracker in your school for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Would you be able to tell us, first of all, I suppose, can you just tell us a bit about your role, the AP2, in your school?
So I'm an AP2 holder at the moment. So my role comprises, I suppose the first part of it is actually academic tracking. So at the end of each end of term assessment, so we have 4 end of term assessments in the school. So the first one will be at Halloween, next one Christmas, then you have Easter and summer. So my job then would be to have a look at how the students are doing that across the board, so year by year, and then to liaise with the year heads and just to look at what students are I suppose underperforming according to their potential. Um, After that, then I suppose we've devised emails and different things that we send to the whole teaching cohort, year group by year group, and just to alert them to different students that may be struggling. In addition to that, then we meet up with the pastoral care team, so that would be mainly, I suppose, headed by the guidance counsellors, and any students that we're, I suppose, worried about, we try to intervene. So just to pass on that information to the guidance counsellors, and they might organise a meeting with them, just to check in on them. The next element of that then is that, I suppose, as part of the role, we use the academic tracker for mentoring as well. So at the beginning of the year, with the academic tracker, I would set up mentor groups for the teachers that take part in it. So we've about 140 sixth-years at the moment, and at the beginning of the year, then mentors would volunteer to mentor those, or sorry, teachers would volunteer to mentor some of those students. So usually there'd be groups of 2, 3, or 4 students. So what I would do is I would assign them their groups on the tracker, and teachers would be able to use that. So just make sure it's updated for it. So that
So
is,
this is the Athena Tracker you're talking about that's used in this.
yes, exactly. Yeah. I suppose that's how you use the tracker for mentoring and different things. But other elements of the role that I have at the moment, I'm pre-exam secretary as well. So I'm flat out at the moment because the pre-exams are coming up in the next couple of weeks. So just trying to plan and prepare for that. And also, another element of the post I have is I would do an analysis of the academic attainment for the state exams, so the junior and the senior cycle, just to analyze the results, to come back to the school, have a look at them, and make a little presentation on them.
Great. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? Because attainment is a big topic that we get asked about often. It'd be nice to hear your perspective on it.
I suppose, look, we break down the academic attainment, I suppose, into a couple of different things. So I suppose the main thing is that we have the end of term assessments, so there are 4 of them throughout the year. So I guess when I sat down with the year heads and different things, we looked at, I suppose, different year groups, whether it's 5th year or 6th year, you might have 7 subjects that you'd be undertaking. The junior cycle students, then you might have, depending on the group, you might have 9, 10, 11, depending. And we just look at what we would determine to be, say, a level that we'd like the students to get to, or whatever. So I know the recommended setting for the expectation summary on the tracker is students that underachieve and say at least 60% of their subjects. So we've taken that on board as well. And that's what we would use across the whole school in terms of all the year groups. And we would, we'd look at students that are underachieving at least 60% of their subjects. I suppose that's what we do with the in-house assessments. So say, for instance, just even this year now, the first assessment we had was in October, so the Halloween one. So each of the year groups then we would have set up the expectation summary on the Athena Tracker for the students, looked at those that would have underachieved and at least 60% of them, and we would have, highlighted those students to the teacher. So each year head would have sent around an email just saying, just to keep an eye out for those students in class, maybe have a word with them, just maybe weren't aware that they were underachieving, different things like that. So then the most recent one would have been Christmas. So again, we do the same thing. And also then with Christmas, we would look for students that would have, say, underachieved in board examinations to date or board end of term assessments to date, whether it was October and Christmas. And again, highlight those students just to say, look, you know, maybe the interventions we're using aren't working. Is there something else we can do? You know, just we highlighted the teachers and also then to the year heads and the guidance counsellors. So that would be that element. I
It's
suppose
very
then,
proactive.
yeah, look, it really facilitates it. Like it's a fantastic resource, and as I say, once you get used to it, and you know, you start using the tracker and seeing how it can be used, you can, you know, there's definite areas you can really utilize it, and it is a fantastic resource, you know.
Yeah. Would you say that's the kind of most useful part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are different elements to it, you know. Like something that we've been encouraging recently has been using the tracker for parent-teacher meetings. Like in the past, it was quite cumbersome. You'd have notebooks and different things, and I suppose from a data protection point of view, you know, the less of those you kind of have, the better. Well, from my point of view, anyway.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you know all the information is stored on the on the tracker. You can access it, and you know when you have your class group, say it's fifth years that we had most recently. You know, you have your class list. You can click into each student individually. You can, you know, go through the results with parents and the student, and also you have it there in front of you, you know, and you can determine just by looking at it whether they're achieving or not according to their potential. I mean, I know you'd have done that already in class on a day-to-day basis, you know, gone through the results with them and that, but at least it's there for you all in one place at that sitting. I suppose it's something that's really taken off. Um, the mentoring, it's been incredibly successful because, as I said, we have 43 staff that would use it for mentoring, and um, it really condenses the information. It's very, very efficient. Instead of having to, we use VSware and you'll be looking into different subjects one by one. You have it all in front of you. The CAO points are tallied for you. There's no messing with that effectively. You just have your laptop or your tablet, sit down with the student and, you know, go through with them, and they can see what their potential is in a particular area. And sometimes, you know, they might get a surprise depending on whether they should be doing a bit better or whatever, you know. So it's very, very interesting to use it for that.
Yeah,
Um,
that is definitely something we hear all the time, like from these post holders that like it's parent teacher meetings, it's where it's the most useful.
yeah,
And as you were saying, it is fully GDPR compliant as well, so that's another reason that
yeah,
to use it.
yeah. No, like we're delighted with it from that point of view. I think in terms of rolling it out among the staff, like definitely using it for mentoring and for the parent teacher meetings has been a big hit because it just makes life an awful lot easier, you know. All the information is in front of you. And what we'd have done, I suppose, in our situation is we'd have, there's six of us on a committee or, you know, a group of us that would take part in the academic tracking, so called the academic tracking committee. And we'd work together, come up with different little bits and pieces that we'd like to, you know, implement in, you know, day-to-day life in the school. And I suppose we'd have created videos, little recordings for staff to use. So say, for instance, just the most recent parent-teacher meeting with the fifth years, one of the members of the committee now would have put together a short video. I think it's only about 1 minute, 20 seconds, and just showing staff exactly how they would use it, you know. So even though a good majority of the staff would use it for the tracker, there would use it for the parent-teacher meetings. It just, I suppose, makes it more accessible again for other teachers that mightn't have used it up to now, just to use it as well, you know, and just to practice with it. So,
So
you
are
know,
you talking like a screen recording, is it, of like how they use it?
yeah, just use Screencast-O-Matic and you know, just make a little video and just roll it out among the staff here. Just something that they can refer to then,
Brilliant.
you know. And I guess it's appealing because I guess it's in our own context as well. And I think something in the school that we like is I guess a lot of teachers give presentations and different things and share experiences. So, you know, it's something we're well used to. So it's nice to do that. And it's someone that you know, and if you have a question, then you know who made the recording, you can just go up and ask them, you know.
Brilliant. It's a great idea. Brilliant. In terms of trainings that you did for the Athena Tracker, can you just let us know what you did and how you found them?
Well, I suppose when I was starting out, when I found out I was being appointed to the academic tracking and that we were going to use Athena Tracker, I would have attended a number of, I suppose, just information sessions or webinars, I think, with Athena, whether it was Emily or different people that were presenting them, just to get information on the tracker. That's what I would have attended originally. But following on from that, then he introduced the super user trainings, and I have found them to be absolutely fantastic. I have attended two of them. One last year, the 22-23 school year above in Athlone, and one this year, 23-24, in Kilkenny, a little bit closer. I suppose it was later in the day, in 22-23 when I wanted to do the training. So I think Athlone was one of the only options, but it was perfect. It was really, really good. So I found them to be incredibly good. I would highly recommend going to the super user training. There's a number of different elements to it. I suppose the first thing is just a recap on, I suppose, what you can use the tracker for. So there may be elements that you might have forgotten about, even though you might be using it quite regularly. And it's just nice to go through them and just to see it all laid out in front of you. And if you have any questions on different aspects of it, whether it's how to set up the mentor groups or how to set up tutor groups or anything like that, just, really good. I think it was Frank and Sarah that gave the presentations and really, really good to answer the questions. After that, what was excellent was just, getting to talk to different people from different schools. I found that incredibly informative and really, really beneficial. And I suppose we had to swap email addresses with a few people and different initiatives that I thought schools were trying to implement that I thought we'd be able to use ourselves just to get more information from those people as well. And it was excellent. And just to, I suppose, share ideas as to different things that they were implementing and how they were going and how they'd gone about it, and little things I could modify or, give my experience to them, and just to say, look, if I were doing this again, I might change X, Y, and Z, might make things easier. I found that really, really good. Another thing about it, I suppose, is that you've different people from different backgrounds, I guess. And what I mean by that is you might have schools that'll be starting out on their journey. They might be just, adopting using the academic tracker for the first time, and they might have a couple of teachers going off just to learn more about it. And also then the likes of myself, it would have been our, this year I would have been in our third year now using the tracker, so you'd have an awful lot of information that you could share or experiences. So, just a discussion with different people and, the different ideas that they'd have and, sharing experiences was really, really good. Like I found that excellent, and I'd highly recommend going to them, and I will in the future again.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll always have you. Have you any examples of the Athena Tracker in action, like you yourself? Like, did you have to interview with a student or like more of a one-on-one kind of example for us?
I guess like the most recent one, just in the Christmas assessments, I guess something that highlighted me, there was I was scanning the results with the relevant year ahead, and we were just looking at I suppose a couple of different things from it just to see how the students had performed, and just looking down through the information, I guess on base where it didn't really jump out as the year ahead said, they were looking at different student results, but when we looked at it with the tracker, one student in particular that we'd have, earmarked as someone that would be very high achieving. They came up on the list as having underperformed in at least 60% of their subjects or underachieved according to their potential. So that was a bit of a surprise. Now, underperformer for this student wouldn't be, failing exams or anything like that. It would have been a case of that they would have been expecting to get H1s, H2s, H3s as a minimum in most subjects, but they weren't achieving that. So I think it was the first time, and I just suppose using the tracker, look back through the results, and it was the first set of exams that the student had, I suppose, gone down in more than one exam. So it was a bit of a surprise. So like obviously then that would set a few alarm bells ringing, and just highlighted it to the year ahead, went to the guidance counsellor, just a referral, and they met up with that student a couple of days later, and it turned out that the student was actually incredibly anxious about the exams, and I was starting to get on top of them. So I guess even just starting to have a conversation with that student would help that person, on the way, we hope, and at least we're aware of it now. So it's something that we can help them with. Whereas even speaking to one or two teachers about it, like their result didn't stand out as being a major issue, say, for instance, given the test or whatever. But when it was across the board, then it would have, you know, been more alarming, we'll say, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant that you're able to pick that up.
Mhm.
Um, and tell us, you already told me a bit about the people who are using it, like the teachers that are using it in the school. Have you plans to roll it out to more staff? Or are you gonna, you seem to be doing a pretty good job the way you're doing it at the moment anyway, but have you plans to change it?
Well, when we introduced it first, like I spent a couple of months, I suppose, how would I say, learning up on it, or that before we actually introduced it. So we introduced it in September 2021 and it was rolled out to all staff. So there was a couple of presentations given at the beginning of the year, one at a staff meeting in September and another in October. And then I think staff were more or less left to their own devices. Like we didn't want to push anything on people because, you know, new initiative takes time to bed in. And I guess if you're trying to force something on people, it's not going to be well received all the time. So the plan of action was a kind of a soft approach, we'll say initially, just to let people get used to it, to try it every now and again, just to highlight that we were using it and that the results were inputted. So I guess the next step then was to you know, bring it to the attention of year heads most specifically. So towards the end of the first year, then after Christmas, well, I suppose approaching the midterm in February, just had a meeting with the year heads and just brought them through different elements of it that they could access and that. So initially we'd have let them just use it as, say, teachers, not to be saying, oh, this is what a year head can do straight away and all that. So that got more buy-in, we'll say. So your heads were using for that, and instead of, say, using different things for looking at how a student was performing, they started using the tracker. As things moved on, then beginning of the second year, we decided that like we're just going to take a more proactive approach to it. So we, as a committee, then we decided that we were going to give some demonstrations at staff meeting. So what we did is obviously a number of us had been using it and a good few teachers had been using it actually up to that point. So we just sought out expressions of interest from people that would be willing to give demonstrations on it. So we had 6 different teachers, each took, say, 15 or 16 different members of the teaching staff, and we put together a presentation for it. It was just a handout, and we would have opened up our Athena accounts, our teaching accounts, and we'd have just given teachers a demonstration how we were using it, and that would have comprised, say, mentoring and say what we do at parent-teacher meetings and different things. I suppose in conjunction with that, and I've already mentioned it, is we'd have also set up the mentor accounts. So we'd have created videos for teachers to access, show them how to use it for mentoring. So just to get more buy-in. That's the journey that we're on with it. And as things have developed now, the year heads throughout the past year have been sending out emails about, you know, students and their potential, whether they're underachieving, just to highlight the staff. And I suppose, look, it's kind of viewed along the continuum of support where, you know, we want an intervention maybe from the class teacher first, just to have a word with a student or just to take a little bit of extra notice, just to make them aware that they may be underachieving, not just in their subject, but across the board. So the emails are general, they're sent out to all teachers. It doesn't matter whether you're teaching the student or not. And you might have a list of 15 or 16 names of students that would be underperforming or underachieving. And that would happen then across all the year groups. And as I said, the follow up on that then is at the next assessment, we would highlight any students that were, you know, had come up again, that had come up the first time, and just, you know, once again, just make people aware of it. But also then there would be a referral and different things to guidance counsellors and that, and just to have a check in with them, you know. So that's where we're at with it at the moment. Our plan down the line, we're investigating whether we'll go with student accounts and different things for the coming year. So we're just getting a bit of feedback, well, hopefully down the line from other schools that might be using it, and look at what we want to get out of it as well, you know. So just to see whether we'd push on with that.
Okay, brilliant. And was it yourself that sought out the Athena Tracker solely when you were looking into it, or was it kind of, you know, a group effort in the school?
Well, I've always had an interest in say academic tracking, academic attainment, and just seeing is there a way we could kind of keep an eye on it. So we'd have had different conversations with management about, you know, different things that we could have a look at using, and even just basically for state exams or end of term assessments. But at that particular time, I think members of our management team had been at some conference or other. I can't actually remember off the top of my head now, but I think there was a presentation from Athena Tracker at it, or they had met someone that was using it and they had had a conversation with them, so it drew their attention to it. So when I had a follow up with management and different things on things we were discussing, you know, this was brought to my attention as well. So we did a little bit of research. We attended some of the presentations that she gave or the webinars, and we decided we'd go with it. So yeah, that was it.
And what do you find the most challenging, the most difficult part of the role?
I suppose initially it was just trying to roll it out, really, just to come up with different ways that you could get people to engage with it. I think a lot of times in schools there can be a lot of initiatives taking place and a lot of change from year to year, you know, particularly with, I suppose, you know, junior cycle reform, senior cycle reform, elements like that. So there's lots of new things coming on board. So it was just to try and find how we could kind of impress on people how useful the Athena Academic Tracker would be, you know, to use. I guess at this point in time, what would be the most difficult thing is, I suppose we have it well established now, and it's just to try to drive it on even more now is what we're trying to do, and we're looking at different elements of it. I suppose that we're branching out into, you know, the different trends that we notice with the tracker and everything. So it's just trying to look at those and see how best to use them as such, you know, to see is there something that's popping up with certain assessments at certain times in the year, and is there anything we can change, I suppose, to facilitate that, you know, to make things more streamlined and more usable, I suppose, are beneficial for the students, you know.
Yeah, can you elaborate any more on that and tell us all your secrets? What are you looking for?
I guess it's just like we've been using it 3 years now, so it's a case of like you'd notice certain things that say the Halloween assessment and then the Christmas assessment, and we're just trying to establish whether, you know, if more students are underachieving at Christmas than at Halloween and why. Now I suppose one of the things is that maybe it's just they've more content covered,
Okay.
and they're being assessed in, you know, kind of I won't say a bigger test, but you know, there's more elements to it. Well, another side of it, I suppose, is just our, you know, students like engaging with the work that they're doing and different things. So there's a lot of, you know, I suppose, things to it, like, and we're just trying to narrow down exactly how we'll go about it, you know.
And there's
Um,
probably the anxiety, what you said before, like with that student, that's probably a massive part of it as well. Like that can
yeah,
go.
absolutely, yeah. So like, there's a few things emerging from it now. Like, I won't go into them all and different things because even at this point in time now, myself, we're just meeting as a committee and just discussing the few bits and pieces, you know. So it's just trying to narrow down where we go about it, you know.
Yeah, you let us know at the next webinar.
I will. I have to. Yeah. Yeah, it's only in its infancy now. This next step, you know. So,
Yeah,
if I were to, you know, talk about one or two things about it, I suppose, you know, I might have to backtrack and, you know.
granted.
Yeah.
Come here. Have you any advice for people who've just taken on this post?
Oh, I suppose. Any advice? I suppose at the beginning, like I wouldn't rush into it. I would definitely spend as much time as possible, trying to research the tracker and different things. I would certainly attend the super user training. Because you're going to meet, as I said earlier, teachers from different schools or at different stages, and like the information you pick up with those is absolutely invaluable. I guess the one thing you don't want to do is to, I suppose, launch the tracker and I guess in the school and, you know, not have a take off and have to work and work and work to get people on board with it. You know, it would be nice to, when you launch it in school, that you kind of know that you're launching it. I guess it suits the teachers that you're working with, if you know what I mean. Like, I suppose all schools are different, and it's just a case of finding how best to go about it, whether it's just to let people use it and work away at it, or whether it's to launch it with the mentoring and different things and take it from that point of view, you know. But I definitely say take your time and do as much research as you possibly can. Attend the super user training because like it is worth its weight in gold, to be honest with you. And after that, then I guess one other thing I would try and do is try and get a small cohort of people that'd be with you, say, as a committee, or whether it's with yearheads and different things that would, say, have a bit more influence, I suppose, in terms of whether they've tutors or, whether they'd be regularly speaking at staff meetings and different things, to get a core group of people with you that are trained up in it or that are using it regularly, and just to, see what elements of it that they find beneficial, and just to, see can you get people then on board to speak at meetings and different things, to just promote it. I suppose that would be something that I would look at as well.
Very good. I just have one more question, but before I ask it, if anybody that's watching has any questions, just stick them in the Q&A and we'll answer them afterwards. But Alan, do you have any advice for a school who's looking for someone to fill this post? Now, I know you yourself are a maths teacher, not just going by your background, but do you have any advice on what maybe type of teacher or anything would be good in this role?
No, I suppose from my own point of view, I think I'd be a decent fit for it, because from a maths background and everything, I suppose something I really liked in college was inferential statistics and different things. So but not everyone has to like that either to do it. Like, say, for instance, among the committee, we've an English teacher or a languages teacher, we've guidance counsellor, teacher that would be involved in additional educational needs, and another maths teacher as well. So there's 6 of us involved, but I would say definitely someone that would have an interest in it. So if someone would talk about, say, end of term assessments or results or different things, particularly, I suppose, say, junior cycle results or senior cycle results, whether it's the state exams in particular.
Mhm.
And I suppose if they had an interest in it, it might be something for them to investigate, whereas I think if you're trying to put in someone cold that mightn't necessarily have an interest in that, it might be a little bit more difficult for them to adapt to it. Although, look, I can't speak for everyone, but just from my own point of view, it is something I would have been interested in. And I think, that would have been highlighted with management from our discussions and different things. So, I think I was, fairly well suited to it,
Brilliant. No looking back.
Well, not at
Um,
this stage anyway.
Brilliant. Okay, so I can see we've one question there. I'll just read it out to you. So it's, what interventions do you put in place to help those who are underachieving?
The first intervention that we would look at is, trying to make the subject teacher aware. So something that would have cropped up from time to time with us is that you might have a student that's getting, say, in a maths class, getting 55, 60%, you think she's just fantastic. But if you hadn't looked at say, their entrance assessment and different things, and see what their aptitude is at maths and different things, like, it could be a case that student is underperforming, and in some situations it could be that they could be significantly underperforming. So the first one is just to draw to the attention of teachers by sending those emails from the year heads that, look, these students are underperforming. You might just have a chat with them and different things, or just from your own context, your own subject area, just to investigate that a little bit. And usually it is only a couple of students across the, say if it's 16 or 17 out of 150 students, you may only be teaching 1 or 2 of them, so it's not very onerous. And that would be the first step, just to get the teacher, just to make them aware of it. As I said, they could have slipped under the net or beyond or under the radar, and just that they might have a chat and different things, and little things could emerge in that regard. The second thing then would be, I guess, just to highlight it, if they were to crop up a couple of times, say in subsequent end of term assessments, where you were to highlight them, or where they were highlighted on the expectation summary or whatever, that as regards the year head then might have a chat with them. So sometimes what we've noticed is that you might have 6, 7, 8 students that might have appeared, say, at October, and also appear on the list again at Christmas. So they would have underperformed, we'll say, consistently, well, in those 2 assessments. So the year head then would have a chat with you just to suss out what the story would be, and also they would be referred to one of the guidance counsellors there, just to make an appointment, have a chat with them and a check-in. After that, then obviously if it's gone to the year head and different things in our situation, then the year head would just make a phone call home. They'd have a chat with the student, just to make a phone call home, just to inform the parents and different things. And that's where we are at this point in time.
Okay, brilliant. I just have 2 more questions now. The next one's from Galva. Thanks for all the great info. Are the other members of the committee post holders also?
No, I'm the only post holder on the committee.
Okay, good.
That's it. Sorry, no, just I suppose just to add to that, the others would have been people that would have expressed an interest in it as well. So I just said to people, if anyone was interested, just give me a shout and we'd, look at what we can do with it. So they would have expressed an interest in it, yeah, absolutely.
And how many members are there in the
Six,
committee?
six in total,
Okay, perfect. Okay,
including myself.
very good. The next question is from Sinead Hennigan. Hi, thanks for sharing your experience. Meeting with management at the end of the week to make a plan to introduce to staff. Would you mind going over again the main pointers that you have found worked well when presenting to staff and what to primarily focus on? Thank you.
So something that really works well in our school, for instance, that like I found down through the years, and it's something we made a concerted effort with when we were trying to introduce the trackers, that we would have made a presentation to staff. So once I would have used the tracker for a period of time, so we started using the tracker, say we signed up to it in January 2021. So I was using the tracker as a teacher, say, and as an admin with a few other teachers for a couple of months until the end of the school year. And then we rolled it out to the whole staff in September of that particular year. So we were able to use the tracker for those couple of months in our situation to see how it worked and different things that we learned from it. So whether it was input in class results or the end of term assessments and everything like that, we got a full picture of how to use it, and we were using it for a number of months before we rolled it out. So when we met as a group, then we were able to discuss what we found to be the most beneficial things and the different elements of it that we thought would work well in our circumstances in the school. So for one of our first meetings now, we didn't break the whole staff into groups. If I was going back in time, I would have broken them up like I did for subsequent presentations. But I gave a presentation on how I was using the tracker and how I found it useful and different things like that. And I found that worked really well because I'm working in the school. They can see students up on in my classes that they recognize and that they know. So it was, in our environment as such, I found that really worked really, really well. And because I had been using the tracker for a good couple of months and other teachers had been too, an awful lot of the questions that came from staff, we were able to answer. We just weren't given answers that we picked up at a presentation or a webinar and different things. We were able to give answers from our own practical viewpoint. Another thing that I did, or that we did as a result of, say, attending the different presentations and using the tracker, we highlighted different elements that we found might be problematic with it, in terms of people's perception, not the tracker itself. So we were able to put together a series of questions, and over those couple of months, then we were able to answer them ourselves. Whether it was approaching other schools that we knew were using it, or whether it was Sarah or Frank or Emily or different people that we had been liaising with, and just to see, could we answer those questions. So we tried to anticipate a lot of what the staff might have asked us on that particular day, and that worked really, really well. And we were able to refine that then for subsequent demonstrations and different things. So as I said, that would have been our first test. We would have spent a bit of time on it ourselves for the first couple of months without staff, being really aware of that as such. And then we would have introduced it towards the end of the year, said, look, we're looking at putting this together for the coming year, and then the following September implemented it. If I had my time again, I would break the staff into smaller groups. And I find just what works well with us is that, we have teachers in the school giving the presentation and giving how they use it. And, we put together a PowerPoint, put together frequently asked questions, and brought them through a demo of all the things that we use it for, whether it's parent-teacher meetings, how to upload in-class assessments, the color coding, and what we'd use it for mentoring. So even the view mode that comes up when you have different modes, you can use it for. And found that worked really, really well. So look, I know it might take time and different things, but I would give it a bit of time and really go through it, because like if you're, I suppose everyone knows that if you're standing giving a presentation, you're trying to introduce things and people have questions, you can't answer them, it doesn't go down well.
True. Brilliant, thank you. And also Sinead has just had another question there. She said, does management attend your committee meetings?
Yes, one member of management would, yeah.
Okay.
And now, not all the time, depending on the committee meetings and depending what else would be happening in the school, but generally they would attend, yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. I think that's all the questions we have. If anybody has anything else, stick it in there fast. Otherwise, oh, there's one more. Oh no, Sinead says that's great. Thank you for all that. Okay, brilliant. I won't keep you any longer now, Alan, but thanks a million for giving the time to do this.
That's great,
And thank you everyone for attending, and hope you're all not blown away like we are down here in Kerry. But yeah, have a lovely evening, and we'll talk to you again.
Thanks very much.